So let's talk about the Icy Peach Bob application. This is super cool and super bold. And first I want to walk through with you the actual application on the cards that I've given you. So this application, you can see, is a very bold color choice. It is a platinum blonde bob with a peak of peach in the front. So to get that platinum blonde bob, they did utilize a global lightener application. So we're talking about scalp to ends, lightener in foils, letting that fully process. Of course, once you get up to that level 9, 10 blonde, you're going to use one of our rapid toners, maybe the SV or the VP, depending on where you've lifted to. You want to pre-tone that and then actually tone that with maybe a silver metallic or a violet metallic or even a 10B to give you that clean, icy palette to work with. Once you get to that point, then you can get into adding your accent pieces. So what I've decided to do today is show you an alternate, something that you can use on your everyday clients, since not every client wants to be platinum blonde. Some clients are brunettes. So this was our model. She was originally about a level 6 brunette, and she wanted to be a little bit deeper. So how many of you have clients that maybe fall into this category? Cool. So she gets her every 4-week touch-up and doesn't really get too much different, but this time she wants something just different, but really doesn't want a lot of extra maintenance. So let's give her a little bold pop of something that she can wear every day to her normal job and her normal meetings or whatever she's doing, but still look kind of cool and kind of trendy and just kind of bold. So with her, we did use the Studio Stylist Express, so that's going to give you your gray coverage in 10 minutes. So we use the 4N Studio Stylist Express scalp to ends in place of doing that global lightening in steps 1 and 2. So to get her palette ready, now she's a nice rich tone from scalp to ends, and then we're going to work on her accent pieces in the front. So what I'm going to do is, working right off of her part, we're going to really focus on this side of her hair. Depending on where she parts, you might switch this around, and depending on the haircut, you could even pop this into maybe a little side peak piece back here. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the front, but for this bob, we're going to show you in the front. So we want to take just a nice triangle section, kind of starting where the flat of her head is, not going too far back, but not just incorporating the bangs. A nice decent sized triangle that goes from her part to her, just her little peak on the opposite side. So there's no real measurements with this. She's got a teeny tiny mannequin head, so her triangle is probably going to look a little smaller than if you were doing this on a client. But you'll get the gist. What I like to do is clip everything else out of the way. It just makes it nicer for your client. Nobody likes to sit with hair in their face while they're processing. So I have a nice clean field to work with. So here's our triangle. Pretty simple, right? And from this triangle, we are going to, for her, we are going to put it in foils. If you look at the application card, she was pre-lightened, so they were applying some foils underneath and then applying the color on top and just letting it open air process. Since we're adding a lightener to create those bold pieces, I do want to process these in foils so she can get her maximum lift from this lightener. I am using the cream lightener with 30 volume inside the foils. So this is going to give her a strong lift up to 9 levels, but it's still super gentle. So I don't have to really worry about how her hair is going to feel when we're finished. It's still going to be in great shape, even though we're pushing it to the maximum levels of lift. And for her, I'm hoping to get her to an 8 or a 9, and my goal is to glaze this piece and give her some accent tones of 8VV and 8ROM. So a nice, really cool, rosy violet shade in her bold pop of color. How's that sound? Cool. So with this section, we're just going to go through and take slices, and then we're going to kind of freehand paint. I'll show you guys what we're talking about. At this point, I would discuss with my client if she maybe wears her hair back a lot, she might not want color right in the front, so maybe she wants a veil of her natural. If they do want a veil of their natural, go ahead and leave that out right now. And then start just a smidge back. So I'm taking a pretty thin slice because I want these to get pretty bold. And these are going to go back-to-back foils for this application. And what I want to do is vary them. So my first one might be down here and be more of a V or a check mark. The next one might be more of a W. I don't want them all to be uniform. I don't want a solid piece of blonde in the front. I want some variation and some soft, and a very soft line of diffusion as this grows out. So I do, of course, want to saturate the ends. So we're going to fully saturate down here, and then we're going to decide where we want our weave to look. Do we want it to be a W? Do we want it to be a check mark? And kind of make a mental note of what you did the last one, so you're not doing a W on each one or two in a row. You don't want to end up with a solid piece or a solid line of demarcation, any of that. So we're going to fully saturate this. Once it's fully saturated, clean your brush off and then decide. So I might do a W on this one, just real random. And the next one I might take a little farther down. So we have a couple things we can do. We can either fold these, which I like doing. I don't like things in my face when I foil, so that's my personal preference. If you do them a little more to the side, you can maybe leave them flat. It's just going to depend on how you want to do it. So we're taking our next little slice and fully saturating again and varying whether we use a W or a check or a heartbeat or whatever you guys want to use. So I'm going to go a little farther down with this one. You definitely want this staggered. You don't want every single piece to start and end at the same place. So this might go higher on one side, but then lower on the other. How's that looking, guys? So the next one I'm going to take a little bit higher. Another thing you want to think about while you're doing this is her part. So do you want a bolder piece in her part? Would you like that side to be a little bit lower so she doesn't have like a bold blonde or red or whatever color you end up doing right on her part? Maybe you do want some bold pieces on her part. That is completely up to you. And of course, if this is somebody with super thick hair, maybe do super thin sections. She's medium, so I'm doing medium sections. Keep that in mind. Always consider your client's density and their texture when deciding how thick your slices should be and what lightener you're going to use, what strength you're going to use, all of that. So you see this is going to be really random, but then she's going to have that like bold pop at the end. It's going to peek out with her bob. So it gives a little bit of interest to her bob. Adding absolutely no maintenance to her after this. She could easily let this grow out and never get it touched up again. She could maybe when she comes in for her next touch-up, have you glaze that a different color. So it gives her a little bit of variation in her color throughout the life of that color span. It's super fun to play with little pieces like this and just add them into your, especially your normal every 4-week clients, because they don't get a lot of variation, do they? Sometimes they just come in and get the same thing, but listen to your clients. So many times clients are asking for change and we're not hearing it. So make sure that you're talking to your clients and knowing, do they want to try something different? Do they want to try something fun? Most of them do. We just don't know it. So I think I'll do one more foil after this. I'll do this one a little bit higher in the middle and a little bit lower on the sides. Make sure you're using a lot of product if you want a lot of lift. If you're doing a very thin layer of product, you're not going to get very much lift. This is not a lightener. None of our lighteners are used with heat, so we're just going to let her process at room temperature. So we don't have to worry about that. Like I said, once she gets to fingers crossed, a nice level 8 or 9. I might pre-tone her with one of the rapid toners. I haven't decided yet. We'll decide when we see what she looks like. So we might pre-tone her if she's a little too warm, and then go ahead and add that violet and rose metallic. Violet and rose metallic. So are you guys excited to see those tones mixed together? Me too. And what we'll do when she's finished processing and pre-toned is just go ahead and dry this front, just this front triangle. We don't need to dry her whole head before applying the toner. I do like to apply my glazes and toners, or whatever you call them, on dry hair if I can. If I have the time for it, I know we're hairdressers, we get busy. If I have the time for it, I think we always get the best results if we can tone or deposit that tone on dry hair. So that's what my plan is for her. So we will see her. I'll check her in about half an hour and see how she's lightened, and then I'll give you guys some updates, and we'll see you with the end result in just a little bit.